That moment you realize people see a version of you that isn't real. The brilliant ideas you have, the warmth you feel, but it gets lost in translation, leaving you feeling invisible. What if you could change that, instantly and forever? People learn a few body language tricks, but 99% miss the one core shift that makes the change authentic and permanent, leaving them feeling like an imposter for the rest of their lives. Decoding perception. Before we can architect a new perception, we have to become experts at decoding the current one. We have to understand the silent, incredibly fast, and often unconscious conversation that's happening long before we ever say a word. Our brains are wired for survival, and socially, that means making rapid assessments of everyone we meet. Researchers call this thin slicing, the ability to find patterns and make accurate judgments based on very brief encounters. This isn't a flaw in our system, it's a feature. And whether we like it or not, we are constantly broadcasting signals or cues that other people are picking up and interpreting in milliseconds. The first step in this entire process is to accept that you are a walking, talking billboard of information, and right now, you might not even know what your billboard says. The two most important categories of signals we send are warmth and competence. Every interaction, every first impression is a subconscious negotiation of these two traits. Warmth cues answer the question, what are your intentions toward me? Are you a friend or a foe? Competence cues answer the question, are you capable of acting on those intentions? Are you a person of ability and power? You can have all the competence in the world, the best ideas, the sharpest skills. But if you are not sending warmth cues, people might perceive you as cold, intimidating, or untrustworthy. Conversely, you can be the kindest person in the room, but if you're not sending competence cues, you might be seen as naive, weak, or ineffective. The magic happens at the intersection of both. So, what are these cues? They are often tiny, nonverbal behaviors that we do on autopilot. A common competence killer is the nervous nod. We do it to show we're listening and agreeable, but when we nod too quickly and too often, it can signal a lack of confidence, as if we're desperately seeking approval for every single point. Another one is the vocal question mark, or what linguists call the high-rising terminal. It's when we make our statements sound like questions by raising our pitch at the end. It completely undermines our authority. See how it immediately makes me sound less certain? On the warmth side, a lack of genuine smiling, a smile that engages the muscles around the eyes, can make us seem disingenuous or fronting. The act of pointing our torso and feet away from the person we're speaking to sends a powerful nonverbal signal that we are disengaged or want to escape. The point of this initial decoding phase isn't to become self-conscious or paranoid about every little movement. It's the exact opposite. It's to bring the unconscious into the conscious, to turn the autopilot off for a moment and simply observe. Think of it as a personal data gathering mission. For 1 week, just notice your own patterns. Do you shrink yourself physically when you sit at a conference table? Do you use filler words like or just that soften your statements? Do you avoid holding eye contact for more than a second? This isn't about judgment. It's about awareness. You cannot change a signal until you know you are sending it. This is the foundational layer, becoming the lead researcher in the science of you. And once you have that data, you can finally begin to curate the message you truly want to send. Curating cues. Once you've become an observer of your own signals, you can move into the role of a curator. This is not about faking it or creating a persona that isn't you. That approach is exhausting and unsustainable. This is about selecting the nonverbal and verbal cues that are aligned with your most confident, authentic, and capable self. It's about making sure your external signals are a true and powerful reflection of your internal reality. The goal is congruence, when your inner state and outer expression are in perfect harmony. That's the source of true charisma. It starts with your physical foundation. How you carry your body is the single biggest predictor of how people will perceive your confidence. We need to find our launch stance. This is a neutral, grounded posture where your feet are about shoulder width apart, your shoulders are back, and your hands are unclasped and visible. This stance does two things. Internally, it sends a signal to your own brain that you are safe and in control, which can actually lower cortisol and increase feelings of confidence. Externally, it communicates immediate presence and self-assurance. When you're standing in this grounded way, you are less likely to engage in nervous fidgeting, like touching your face, neck, or hair, which are all self-soothing behaviors that signal anxiety to others. From this launch stance, you can then add other powerful cues. For instance, using purposeful hand gestures. Our hands can be incredible tools for demonstrating competence. When we use clear, illustrative gestures that are contained within the upper part of our body, it not only helps the other person understand our ideas, but also shows that we are passionate and confident in what we're saying. Hiding your hands in your pockets or behind your back can signal that you have something to hide and can decrease trust. Next, let's talk about your voice. Your vocal tone can carry more weight than the actual words you use. We already talked about the problem with uptalk. The antidote is to consciously practice ending your statements with a downward inflection. Say a sentence like, "I think this is the right direction for the project." Now say it again, but make sure the last word, project, is at a slightly lower pitch than the rest of the sentence. The difference is subtle but profound. One sounds like a suggestion seeking approval, the other sounds like a confident assertion. Another vocal cue is pace. When we're nervous, we tend to speak quickly, as if we're trying to get our words out before someone cuts us off. Deliberately slowing down your rate of speech, and even more powerfully, using strategic pauses, is a massive confidence cue. A pause before answering a question or before making a key point signals that you are thinking, that you are in control, and that what you are about to say is worth waiting for. Finally, curating your cues is about eye contact. We often think of eye contact in terms of quantity, but the quality is far more important. The goal isn't a staring contest, which can be aggressive. The goal is to create connection. A powerful technique is to hold eye contact for the first 3 to 5 seconds of meeting someone. This is just long enough to register their eye color and establish a baseline of trust. In conversation, aim for what's called the 70-50 rule. Hold eye contact about 70% of the time while you are listening, and about 50% of the time while you are speaking. This balance communicates both confidence and warmth. It shows you are engaged and listening, but also comfortable enough to look away briefly to gather your thoughts. These curated cues, your stance, your gestures, your voice, and your gaze, are not a performance. They are tools to close the gap between how you feel on the inside and how you are perceived on the outside, ensuring the world finally sees the competent, warm person you already are. Owning space. Now that we have the micro cues dialed in, we need to zoom out and look at the macro level of presence. This is about how you interact with the environment around you and the space between people. It's about owning your space, both physically and conversationally, in a way that is assertive and respectful, not aggressive. People who are truly confident don't just have confident body language, they have a confident relationship with the world they inhabit. It begins the moment you enter a room. Most people, when they walk into a new social setting, immediately look for a friendly face or dart their eyes to the floor, trying to find their destination as quickly as possible to alleviate the social anxiety. This signals uncertainty and deference. The powerful shift is to pause at the threshold. Take a breath, stand in your launch stance, and slowly scan the room. This small 2-second action communicates that you are comfortable, you are an observer, and you are not intimidated by the environment. This principle extends to where you choose to position yourself. We often subconsciously choose seats that are out of the way, at the end of the table, in the back of the room. This is a form of physical self-silencing. To change how you are perceived, you must start choosing positions of engagement. Sit in the middle of the table. Stand in the center of a conversational group. This isn't about hogging the spotlight, it's about non-verbally communicating that you are an active and equal participant. It's a physical manifestation of your willingness to contribute. When you take up space in this way, people are more likely to turn to you, to include you, and to subconsciously assign you a higher level of importance and authority within the group dynamic. It's a simple change in geometry that has a massive psychological impact. Conversationally, owning your space means moving away from apology and toward contribution. Pay attention to how often you use minimizing language. We say things like, "This might be a silly idea, but," or "I just wanted to add." These prefaces immediately discount the value of what we're about to say. You have to eliminate them. Instead of asking for permission to speak, simply speak. This also means getting comfortable with silence. We often feel the need to fill every conversational lull, which can signal nervousness. A person who is truly confident is comfortable with a moment of quiet. They don't rush to fill the void. This comfort with silence gives their words more weight when they do choose to speak. It also gives them time to formulate a more thoughtful response, which is a huge competence cue. Finally, owning your space is about how you end interactions. Just as you make a powerful first impression by pausing at the threshold, you can make a powerful last impression by being the one to gracefully end the conversation. Many of us wait for the other person to signal that the conversation is over, which again puts us in a passive, deferential position. Learning to say, "It was so great speaking with you, I have to go connect with someone else now," or "I've really enjoyed this conversation, thank you," puts you in control of your own time and social energy. It shows that you have agency and purpose. When you consistently own your entrances, your physical position, your conversational contributions, and your exits, you are sending a powerful, cohesive message. I am here, I have value, and I respect myself and my time. This is the framework that makes people see you not just as a participant, but as a presence. The core shift. We've covered the external signals, the physical cues, and the environmental strategies. You could master every single one of these, and it would undoubtedly make a difference. But it would be a fragile difference. It would be a performance that you have to constantly maintain, and under pressure, the old patterns would re-emerge. This is because we have been working on the symptoms, not the source. The one thing, the single foundational shift that makes this change permanent and authentic is internal. It is the act of changing your primary audience. For most of our lives, our primary audience is everyone else. We are constantly, subconsciously monitoring, how am I coming across? Do they like me? Do they think I'm smart? Do they think I'm awkward? Our mental energy is spent looking at ourselves through 1,000 pairs of other people's eyes, and we adjust our behavior accordingly. This is the source of our anxiety and our inauthenticity. The one thing you must do is to fire that external audience. You must make the conscious, deliberate decision that from now on, your primary audience is you. Your goal is no longer to get their approval. Your goal is to earn your own self-respect. Your guiding question shifts from what do they want to see to what behavior would make me proud of myself right now. This is the core shift. When you start living to impress yourself, everything else we've talked about becomes a natural byproduct, not a technique to be remembered. You will stand in a launch stance not because you read it's a power pose, but because you respect your body and want to inhabit it with presence. You will make eye contact, not because it's a rule, but because you are genuinely interested and have nothing to hide. You will stop using uptalk because you will genuinely believe in the validity of your own statements. This internal shift is what creates an unshakable core of confidence. When you are no longer seeking validation from the outside, you become immune to the subtle judgments and social pressures that used to throw you off balance. You are anchored in your own sense of worth. Your energy completely changes. Instead of broadcasting a needy, anxious vibe that is constantly asking, "Am I okay?" you broadcast a calm, self-contained energy that says, "I am okay." This is incredibly magnetic. People are drawn to those who have a strong center of gravity, who are not swayed by every social breeze. They begin to see you as a leader, as someone who is grounded and trustworthy, because you have proven that you can lead and trust yourself first. This is not a one-time decision, but a moment-to-moment practice. In every interaction, you have a choice. You can default to your old pattern of audience monitoring, or you can consciously choose to be your own audience. It means speaking up in the meeting, not because you want the boss to be impressed, but because you have an idea that you believe is valuable. It means choosing to leave a conversation not to be rude, but because you are honoring your own energy and time. It means finding the courage to be quiet when you have nothing to say instead of nervously filling the silence. This is the ultimate act of owning your space, owning the space inside your own head. When you stop trying to be the person you think they want you to be, you finally become the person you were always meant to be. And that is a person that no one can ever see the same way again. The journey from being unseen to being seen is not about adding a new mask. It's about removing the old ones. It's a process of subtraction, of letting go of the need for approval that has been weighing you down and distorting your every signal. When you learn to decode perception, curate your cues, and own your space, you are building a powerful toolkit. But when you make that one core shift to live for an audience of one, you stop needing the tools because you become the embodiment of the message itself. You become congruent. And that authentic, grounded presence is something that changes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself forever. Be honest. Which cue did you realize you've been sending without even knowing it?